From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
Tonight at 8 o'clock, days after dry lightning swept across the Bay Area, firefighters are still battling dozens of wildfires, and some of them are burning dangerously out of control tonight. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Grant Lotus.
And I'm Vicki Liviakis. Here's a map of where those fires are burning right now. The SCU Lightning Complex, that is the biggest of them all, scorching more than 137,000 acres in Contra Costa, Alameda, Santa Clara, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin counties. Towards the bottom of your screen, the CZU August Lightning Complex fires, those are burning in the mountains of San Mateo and Santa Cruz counties, destroying homes and forcing thousands of people to evacuate there. Now, the LNU Lightning Complex, that is burning in a large area of the North Bay, leveling homes and impacting thousands of people living in Sonoma, Napa, Solano, Lake, and Yolo counties. And the Woodward fire, that is burning in the Point Reyes National Seashore area of Marin County.
And so far, those devastating North Bay fires have scorched a combined 215,000 acres, and 4 people have died, 3 in Napa County, 1 in Solano County. 480 structures have been destroyed. These numbers were just updated, and they have really jumped. 125 other structures have been damaged. Tonight, more than 30,000 structures are still threatened, and right now the entire complex in the North Bay is 0% contained.
And tonight we're learning all evacuation orders have been lifted in Vacaville, with the exception of south of Foothill Drive and west of Alamo Drive from Monte Vista Avenue to Interstate 80.
KRON4's Michelle Kingston is in Vacaville with what conditions are like.
Well, there's not much activity here outside the Ulatis Community Center. This is the only evacuation center still open in the city of Vacaville, but I gotta tell you, that destruction out by Pleasance Valley Road is devastating. An American flag still waving off of Pleasance Valley Road, despite the fast-moving fire that traveled south from Napa County toward Vacaville early Wednesday morning, forcing evacuations of thousands of homes. The fire jumped Interstate 80, clogging traffic for hours. Today, we see the devastation: fences burned, power poles down. I have been driving up and down these roads in the hills in Vacaville, and I have to say there is just so much smoke. These hillsides are completely charred. Wildlife is devastated, and so many homes and barns have burnt to the ground. Fire officials say crews are working to stop the spread, putting out hotspots throughout the city, despite resources being stretched thin. In Vacaville, Michelle Kingston, KRON4 News.
And as you just saw there, one of the areas hardest hit by the fires last night, it was Vacaville, but conditions actually are improving. And tonight we know the evacuation orders have been lifted for the remainder of the city, with the exception of just 2 areas.
Joining us now is Vacaville's Fire Chief, Chris Concepcion. Thank you for being with us tonight, Chief. Obviously things are better this evening. What are conditions like as we speak?
Good evening. Yes, you're absolutely right. Conditions are better. And as you mentioned, we've lifted most of the evacuations in the city, with the exception of a small sliver to the west side of our city, north of 80, south of Foothill Drive, and west of Alamo. So it's affecting probably between 500 and 1,000 homes. And as a result, we've shut down most of our evacuation centers, and we only have one open now, which is the Ulatis Community Center.
Chief, yesterday when that fire jumped the freeway, what went through your mind?
First of all, that's not something that you see very often during your fire service career, a fire jumping, 8 to 10 lanes of freeway. Luckily, we knew that the weather was going to come up and the winds were going to pick up, so we were prepared for it. We were able to call for the evacuation very, very quickly. So that was good. And our crews moved very quickly to remove the threat from the houses, because we had to call for some evacuations. But because the firefighters got over to the other side of the freeway where it was threatening the homes, and they were able to do some burnout operations and remove the threat.
The chief in Marin County said that he hasn't seen a fight like this for resources in his 25-year career. How is your city doing? Are you getting help from the outside, or are you helping different areas of the North Bay and the greater Northern California area? Because the scope of all of these fires is remarkable.
Absolutely. We're doing a little bit of both. And you're absolutely right. California has one of the best mutual aid systems in the country, if not the world. And so currently we actually have crews down in Southern California that are helping with fires down there. We had some crews up in Redding that were actually released to come down and help with the firefight here at home. And then we've recalled just about every firefighter. And so our firefighters have been working nonstop for the last 3 days. They're tired, but their spirits are good. I've seen nothing but heroic actions from the firefighters, and they've done great work in protecting the city. And I'm happy to report with their efforts, there hasn't been a single structure that's been damaged in the city of Vacaville.
Wonderful. Before we let you go, Chief, we need to just revisit this for a moment. The evacuation orders have been lifted for the remainder of the city, except for a couple of areas. Are you telling residents there that, you know, they can rest easy tonight, or is there still a danger at their door?
The reason that we didn't lift the evacuations in that small area of the city of Vacaville is we're expecting some winds. We've got most of, the weather did agree with us today. So our firefighters were able to get out there and really solidify the line between the houses and the unburned fuel. So we're not too worried, but just out of an abundance of caution, we wanted to make sure that the weather held tonight. So that's why we didn't lift the evacuations in that area. But the residents that are in that area, bear with us. We just wanted to make sure that we were absolutely safe before we would let you back to the houses. All
right. Chris Concepcion, Fire Chief, City of Vacaville, appreciate your time. All the best to the men and women of the Vacaville Fire Department.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, I want to give you a map now showing the current evacuations in Solano County. The areas in red here, mandatory evacuation orders. That includes Travis Air Force Base. As you can see here, the yellow areas are currently only evacuation warnings. You can see a full list of all the evacuation information on our website, KRON4.com. And check out this new video of the Walbridge fire shot just hours ago over Healdsburg. Quite a sight there. This is part of that same LNU Lightning Complex fire in the North Bay. So far, it has burned 20,000 acres. This one specifically, it is 0% contained.
And that is where we find KRON4's Taylor Bisacki tonight. Taylor, what's it like there now?
Well, Vicki, Grant, this is my view from Kinley Drive in Healdsburg, and if you see over this way, you can see those huge smoke plumes. We're seeing black and some flames earlier. This is the view that we're seeing, and the main concern, obviously, is for the people that live out there on the ridge. Now, if you follow this road along, it'll eventually meet Mill Creek Road. I drove down there. I talked to a woman who was actually choosing to stay behind, like she says a lot of her neighbors have as well. Her husband was actually dozing some lines in there. She says that they got the horses out, though. They also had a lot of animals to worry about, but she and her family have been in Healdsburg for a long time. They say they're actually one of the first to build in this area, and they say it's been such a long time since this area has burned. So they're very concerned. I mean, if you take a look just at the area, there's so much fresh brush that is able to burn, so obviously fuels for this fire. But if we come back out to me, I do want to give you a look here. If I get here behind my camera, I want to show you what it looks like over the ridge. Earlier, the good thing here that we did see, as we mentioned, it's now burning 20,000 acres, but I do want to mention we finally started to see some of those drops. We saw planes coming in here, and I will say that I know it looks bad now, but the smoke actually looks a little bit better from earlier here today. And if you look out at the view over here, there's just a bunch of cars lined up in this area. Everybody's been watching what's been going on with this fire for the last few hours. Some people waving there in the car, but yeah, this is the scene out here on Kinley Drive. People just parked along watching the progress of this fire. And, you know, of course, people in Healdsburg, they were told Wednesday night to leave the area, you know, or at least get ready to leave, I should say. And as I mentioned, a lot of people chose to stay back, but I wanted to toss it to the soundbite from one of the people that I spoke to who was watching this fire and watching its progress for a good time today.
Doesn't seem like it's slowing down. I mean, it's nice to see the planes. I don't know if you noticed they're buzzing around like hornets. They finally have hitting it from the air, which is great. But I think they're more hitting the very north end of it looks like. And this kind of more eastern part, they haven't hit it much at all. So hopefully they got something to stop it. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, it's up to the grapes.
Well, again, we're out here in Healdsburg, and that fire is burning off to the west, and it's moving now south, more southwards. So lots of concerns for those people out there living in the hills by that ridge. Some have chosen to leave, others are choosing to stay, so we'll have to monitor this situation. Vicki, Grant?
Yeah, Taylor, the gentleman you just spoke to talked about having to leave it to the grapes. We noticed that the vineyards are behind you. In previous fires in Napa and Sonoma, we found that the vineyards actually formed a bit of a fire break. Is that giving you a level of confidence that you're in a safe spot?
Absolutely, Vicki. You know, just a bunch of grapes here, vineyards here behind me, and if you travel along, actually further along when you get closer to that hill, there are more vineyards, so hopefully that will help out if the fire does progress and make it that far. But yeah, as we've seen in the past, these vineyards have really helped out. And just for a reference, you know, we obviously, this is an area that's been affected from fires in the past, but Healdsburg, over on the other side to the east, we had the Kincaid fire. So, you know, this is bringing up bad memories for a lot of people. But now this is the other side, the west side. So you can see here behind me a lot of fresh brush that didn't burn in last year's fire. So we just got to keep monitoring, and hopefully everybody is paying attention to those evacuations.
All right, Taylor, stay safe. We'll check back with you. We're going to take a closer look right now at where the LNU fire complex fires are burning again. This is a group of fires that stretch across 5 counties. And despite the distance, as you can see there, you know, between some of the flames, CAL FIRE has chosen to designate the different fires as just one incident that's due to a lack of available resources. So that's how they're treating it.
And here's a look at the evacuation orders and warnings currently in effect in Sonoma County. Anybody living in the red area is under a mandatory evacuation order. Yellow area indicates an evacuation warning, meaning that you should be ready to go at a moment's notice. Sheriff's deputies will be in those areas, the warning areas, if the evacuation is upgraded to let people know it's time to go. And here's a look now at the evacuation map for Napa County. The blue area here is where evacuations are mandatory. Yellow is an evacuation warning. The map also shows the evacuation shelter where people can seek refuge. It's at Crosswalk Community Church. And video now of smoke up in the North Bay just hours ago. This was shot with our quadcopter 4 in Rohnert Park. Our drone, you can see a thick sheet of smoke up there in the sky. It's ominous.
Is. And let's just go ahead and check on weather conditions up in the North Bay and how they're impacting the wildfires. Meteorologist Mabrisa Rodriguez here with our forecast. Mabrisa, is Mother Nature helping us or hurting us?
Definitely helping us right now, Vicki and Grant. Tracking cooler temperatures right now in Napa, 72 degrees. Noticing a lot more moisture out there as well. Thanks to those cooler temperatures, 61% relative humidity and wind speeds remaining breezy, but in the teens, 12-mile-per-hour sustained winds. So current wind speeds out there right now for most of the Bay Area, a lot calmer than earlier. Downtown San Francisco did see gusts upwards of about 35 miles per hour just a few hours ago. Now tracking sustained winds at 23 miles per hour but wind gusts once again will be an issue, mainly for the North Bay valleys and also along the coast of the San Francisco Peninsula. Could see gusts upwards of about 30 miles per hour or less, but it is that stronger sea breeze that is going to bring us the return of that marine layer tonight during the overnight hours, cooling down temperatures and increasing that moisture content, where during the overnight hours we could reach up to 60% relative humidity for most of the North Bay. Cut that in half though by Friday afternoon. Still tracking a fairly warm and dry air mass out there, but it is going to benefit our coastal areas significantly, and air quality is improving slightly along the coast as the winds shifting from the west northwest, but poor amounts for those of you in the East Bay. So you're noticing some pretty poor air quality tonight, even through tomorrow as well. Some improvement for everyone else in the Bay Area. And don't forget, we have a spare the air alert for the Bay Area now through Sunday. So we still have a few more days to go. Limit outdoor activity as much as you can. Those of you with any pulmonary or respiratory issues in the coming days. Back to you, Grant and Vicki.
Thank you, Mabrisa. Stay with us as our breaking news coverage continues right here on KRON4 News. At 8 o'clock after the break, we'll go live to Santa Cruz County, where what they're calling the CZU complex fires are still burning and a state park has suffered extensive damage.